Hello friends, this is David White, and I wanted to pop in very quickly at the beginning of this episode to say if you like the character of Omission and you would like to know more about him, you could go to our Patreon. You could pledge just $5 a month on our Patreon, and you could get access to the giant-sized Omission right now, where I talk to the player behind Omission, the mind and the voice behind Omission, and learn a little bit more about his backstory, his powers, and the goals that player has for Omission. I hope that you consider giving on our Patreon and listening to that exclusive audio, and I hope that you also enjoyed this episode.
Hello friends, my name is Penny for a Tale, and you're listening to Tales to Inspire.
As we open the cover of Omission Issue 0, the very first panel is of a long central road cutting through a town, a main street cutting through a town, and over in the corner of the panel there's a little yellow box that says 1933 South Minnesota. And there are some people walking around, and they seem all put together, but kind of walking in their midst, we see somebody that doesn't fit in. Mitchell, could you please describe who do we see in this panel?
Yeah, walking down the road is a person with heavy dark brown boots, long jeans, which are distressed, and then kind of moving on up, suspenders, but with no shirt, kind of this emaciated body, pale and almost sickly. A man with stubble, with a few white hairs, and wild and unkept curly hair with dark brown eyes. He's moving forward with his hands in his pocket, kind of whistling to himself during this lovely day.
Yeah, and I think we see people walking by this person and not paying him any mind. I think one might even bump into Omission's shoulder, and then he turns around with like a frown on his face, but then the frown is immediately gone, and he turns and keeps walking with his dainty lass on his arm, if you will. And I think, Omission, you have been walking and roaming for a while now, and there is a grumble. In fact, we see like the little hunger lines come across your stomach, and we see the onomatopoeia over to the side, grumble. So Omission, what are you going to do?
Well, it's probably trying to find a flea market or convenience store to grab some food in. Probably actually a grocery store. Something with a little bit more space to roam around.
Okay. Definitely. There is a grocery store right across the road. And there are a few cars passing back and forth. And they obviously don't see Omission. So, Omission, how do you get across the street?
Very carefully. Sometimes he waits for there to be no cars or for someone else wanting to walk across the street, and he just kind of shadows them as they do.
Yeah,
I think it's very dangerous.
Yeah, I think we have like 3 consecutive panels showing Omission walking like right behind somebody, like right behind them, like uncomfortably close, and like the person just doesn't react. And then you get to the grocery store, you open the door, there's a tinkle of a bell, and I think the grocer looks over at the door and says, the wind, I guess. And he walks over and shuts the door behind you.
Yep. Omission knows and understands, moves forward. He'll probably go over to the canned goods and just kind of pick out a meal and maybe stuff one in his pocket. Nothing too expensive. He's kind of cheap, doesn't have much money, but he does place the money for the cans on the table next to the cash register, even if he doesn't acknowledge Omission.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is interesting. Even stuff that Omission picks up are omitted by his powers.
Yeah, it's just kind of because if someone looking at him will see him, but the moment they look away, he's just kind of not there anymore. So yeah, the things that he picks up just becomes a part of that. So.
Okay, so I think as you are picking out those canned foods, like you said, you hear the doorbell jingle again, and then you hear a very loud voice. All right, everybody, this is a stick-up. Everybody on the ground now. Don't want anybody getting hurt. And you hear somebody else going, yeah! And there's a blast of gunfire that comes from the front of the store. Omission, what do you do?
Yeah, Omission doesn't respond immediately. For him, he's in his own world, and for any external stimuli to have anything to do with him, other than when he's crossing the road, is usually rare. And so he looks at these canned items, probably what did they have back then, like spaghetti or like green beans or something like that.
Yeah, like definitely some sort of vegetables, because this is in the middle of the Great Depression, so I think some of the shelves are very bare, and I think it's just beans.
Yeah, right? just beans. Yeah, and he's like looking between the 2 cans and just kind of like, which one? As he peers down the grocery store aisle to kind of curiously get a look of what's happening up front, as he's kind of interrupted by his contemplations of which brand of bean to go with today.
Yeah, and as Omission looks down, we see another panel that is a large panel, and it has a couple of people pouring into the grocery store, and there is a woman with kind of dark clothing and a flat cap twisted backwards on her head, her red hair spilling out over the edge. Then there next to her is a more wiry fellow with a tie loosely around his neck, his suit jacket on, and he has a shotgun and is waving it around. And then we see this big bodacious text bubble that says, "You all got the honor of being robbed by Bonnie and Clyde." And we see these people spill out. There is, of course, Bonnie and Clyde, but with them, you see you see 2 other people similarly just kind of dirty, covered in dust, as most everybody was during the Great Depression. And you see Bonnie hops up on the cash register, and she takes a drag of her cigarette and breathes it into the cashier's face. She says, "Now, honey, why don't you just be a doll and open up that safe? We got a little rendezvous in Louisiana we need to skedaddle to." And of course, the cashier's just ashen face, just staring at Bonnie Parker.
Yeah, Omission places one of the cans down, and with the can in his right hand, will move forward to look at them in full view. He's had a lot of time to gauge people. That's pretty much, he can't interact with them much, so just looking at them is his pastime. So with one of his powers, hyper perception, or even hyper empathy, which is his difficult power, which is a little bit more hard for him to read people in terms of just seeing things. He's going to try to figure out who is the leader of this group.
The leader. Yeah, I think I don't even know if you really need to. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's have a roll. Let's make an examine roll. So go ahead and take 2d6 and roll and add your investigate number to this.
Ooh, excellent. I got an 11.
An 11. Okay. So on an 11, you get to ask me 3 questions from this list. What happened here recently? What is about to happen? What danger should I be on the lookout for? What here is useful or important? Who's really in control here? And what here is not what it appears to be?
Excellent. So first question is, who's really in control here?
Okay, who's really in control here? Definitely the man with the tie loosely around his neck. And I don't know how close attention Omission would pay to the newspapers, but I mean, Clyde Barrow was plastered on every newspaper during this time. So quite possibly you would recognize this person, this duo, as Bonnie and Clyde. And of course they did announce their names, but you know, it's the Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, I think he's like looking around trying to confirm that these are actually the people. Like, what are the odds? What here is not what it appears to be?
What here is not what it appears to be? This is interesting. I think Clyde is gesturing around wildly with his shotgun, you know, telling the customers to get down on the ground. But as he's stepping, you notice there's a limp in his step. And I can't remember which foot it is, but he is definitely limping. And he's trying to cover it up by drawing everybody's attention to him waving his shotgun around.
Yeah, and what danger should I be on the lookout for other than the gun?
Yeah, other than the gun. So, of course, you have Bonnie and Clyde right in front of you. Clyde has his shotgun. Bonnie has a cigarette in one hand, a revolver in the other, and she is, as I said, perched on the cashier. But then also you saw their 2 accomplices come in with them, and you see one is looming over some people on another aisle, like on a paper goods aisle, and the other one, let's say he is on the same aisle as you, behind you. He is like hooked around and is coming down this aisle. And let's say there was a woman on the aisle with you, and he has grabbed her and slammed her up against the aisle, and you know, he's gesturing in her face with the machine gun and saying, "What's a pretty doll like you doing out here?" And from the front of the store, Clyde calls out, "Now, Buck, don't be getting raucous now. We just need to get out of here." And Buck, as he has been called, looks at the pretty woman and says, I'm married anyway.
Yeah.
But he keeps a tight grip on her arm.
Yeah, Omission will take out his pocket knife given to him by his mom, somewhat, and just kind of step past him so that he's never in their view until he can get out, and his goal is to slash their tires.
Ooh, okay. Let's do... Where's it at?
Maybe defy danger?
Is there not a sneak ability? I thought there was. Wow, there is not. How weird. Definitely need to add one before we start like our real season. But for this purpose, let's go ahead and roll a seize control, and let's roll. Let's roll your maneuver. So this is a 2d6 plus your maneuver.
All right. Unfortunately, I only got a 5.
A 5. Okay. So let's do like this. You are stalking forward, and it's craziness. People are yelling and shouting, and as you're trying to creep forward, I think not Buck, but the other accomplice that was in the corner of the store comes running around holding a fistful of cash. Clyde, look, we got some, and then boom, collides with you. You go flying to the floor. He also goes flying to the floor, and they just freeze, and Clyde looks at his accomplice. WD, tripping over your own foot. What's wrong with you? Boss, I don't understand. It's like there was somebody there. And Clyde is going to say, you idiot, there's nobody there, look. And he's going to fire a shotgun right at where you are.
Yeah.
So please roll a defy danger. And this would be a 2d6 plus your protect.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. Yeah, protect is not very good. Yeah, and if they're looking over, they can definitely see Omission. It's just whenever they look away, he just becomes non-existent to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then do we want to back up and like re-narrate that?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, so let's go back. He like collides with you. He falls to the ground, and I think at that moment they both realize, oh shoot, there's somebody there.
Yeah.
And they just didn't notice you before, and so Clyde looks over in your direction, kind of angles the shotgun down at you. Pardon me, you vagrant, but we're in the middle of a stick-up right now. I'm gonna need you to stay right there on your keister.
Yeah, sure. But Omission will kind of be waiting. He's kind of tracking the person with the gun's eye movement to wait for the time to just kind of roll out of his perception so that he can be forgotten again.
And you said you had your pocket knife out. Is it still in your grip?
Yeah, it's like one of those Swiss Army like pocket knives, you know. So that small little blade.
Okay. Clyde is going to see you holding that and say, Bonnie, I think I got a new little toy for you. Could you take it from this man, please? And Bonnie looks over and says, why, sure thing. And she saunters over and she like squats down with her cigarette in one hand and her revolver kind of just held lazily in the other and says, I'll be taking that, sweetheart.
Yeah, Omission, because this is a very important item to him. He is going to try to grab her and kind of throw her in the way of the gun, kind of hold her hostage briefly.
Ooh, okay. So you're trying to hold her hostage. Are you trying to hold her hostage to influence Clyde or to help yourself in getting away?
Influence Clyde.
Influence Clyde. Okay, then let's roll. Let's roll an influence someone. So roll 2d6 plus your influence.
Excellent. So I have a -1 in that. He's not very great at it, but he's got a 6. Is the final.
That's his final roll, man.
Yeah.
Now I will bring up. We've had a few failures. If you wanted to burn a bond, and I realize most of your bonds are with characters that have not been introduced yet, that you had not even met yet. But if you wanted to burn a bond, you would step up your bond clock by 1 slice, and you would get to step up your failure to a mixed success.
Ooh, let's do that. Let's
Okay.
Let's burn public opinion.
Okay.
Did I say? Yeah, law enforcement is what I meant. There you go.
Oh, law enforcement?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, please describe for us how is what you're doing putting a strain on your relationship with law enforcement?
Actually, no. I think. I think public opinion would work better for this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these people are like heroes. For the common man and stuff like that. So I think he, in this moment, he's probably going to be a little bit more aggressive than he meant to with Bonnie. Kind of pushing his forehead right into her face or nose. And then just kind of twisting her so that the barrel of the gun is aimed at her instead of himself.
Perfect. Yeah, because during this time, during the Great Depression, Bonnie and Clyde were like living every American's dream, on the road, stealing from the quote-unquote rich to provide for themselves. So public opinion of them hadn't really shifted yet. So you grab what is a folk hero, basically, putting your knife to her throat and angling that the gun, like you said. So since you burned a bond to step it up to a 7 to 9, here's what happens for EIC characters, NPC characters. So on a 7 through 9, they'll do what you ask, but only if you offer concrete assurance of your promise right now. So what are you wanting to get Clyde to do, and what concrete assurance are you going to offer him?
Yeah, I'm going to be like, kind of taking a deep breath. I just want my beans, and I'm going to head out. This knife stays with me. I'm going to put it back into its little Swiss Army case. Put it in my pocket. I'm going to walk out. I'm sorry for the damage I caused.
Okay. And Clyde is eyeing you and looking back and forth between your eyes and Bonnie's eyes. And he just keeps that shotgun angled on you. And he kind of leans against the cashier desk, favoring that leg that I said he was limping on. He says, "You all right, Bonnie?" And she says, "It's just a little tussle, honey." And then I guess you start slowly walking towards the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just slowly but surely walking out and getting as quickly as he can away from their eyesight.
Okay. And I guess were you holding Bonnie as you got to the door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, once I get to that door, my back's on the handle. I'll just kind of let her go and be like, all right, I'm just going to leave this place right now. I'm sorry for harming you.
Okay. and you have your back against it. You push it open. The bell tingles. And as you walk out, you hear the cashier says, "Go get the pulley!" And he can't get the final syllable out as Clyde whirls around and hits him in the chin with his shotgun barrel. And then as he whirls back around, he just sees an open door.
Yeah. Omission is just going to be like laying on the ground and just kind of crawling away towards their getaway vehicle.
Yeah,
it's been a long journey, but I guess it worked out.
Yeah, you see the Ford sitting right there, kind of hopped up on the curb, and you see a woman is inside, her head craning every which direction, checking her peripheries, looking for any sign of the cops. But she does not see you. What do you do?
He's just going to, as he's still crouching on the ground, kind of soldier crawling forward, he's just going to roll underneath the car and pull out his knife and just start, stabbing at every wheel to flatten him.
Okay, let's roll.
Maybe takedown?
Yeah, I was looking at takedown. Yeah, let's do that. Let's roll a takedown. And you describe this as being...
Or use environment. Maybe. Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. No, use environment is more like when you're grabbing something to use and help you. Let's do a takedown. So roll 2d6. And since you describe yourself doing this sneakily, we'll say you do this with your maneuver.
Excellent. All right, I got an 11.
Hey. So on a 10 plus, you get to choose 3. You can inflict stress, and you can choose this multiple times. You can take away an advantage, but in order to do that, you must choose it twice. You can force a change of location. You can reduce the size of a mob by 1, or you take no harm in the doing.
Yeah, I guess I either take away advantage being the vehicle or inflicting stress on the tires.
Yeah, and so let's treat the Ford as an advantage. And what an advantage is it's like an exterior something that somebody can use. So like Iron Man's armor is an asset. It's an exterior something that he can use. So you have to choose that twice. So Perfect. You get to take away that advantage, so they no longer have their getaway car. And what's your what are you gonna do with your third choice?
Reduce the size of a mob by 1. Does this count as a mob? Can I this driver can I take care of them real quick?
You definitely could. So you can reduce the size of a mob, and you can reduce it by 1. And so the way mobs work is they have like a size and a rating, and I won't go into like all the details of that. But yeah, let's say that you effectively take out this driver and reduce the number of this mob. So go ahead and tell me, how are you going to take out the driver, and how do you slash the tires without being seen?
Yeah, he kind of army crawls underneath the vehicle, and then just while underneath the vehicle, pokes little holes in the tires, and as air is kind of gently being let out, he rolls onto the other side. Keeps down so that when he opens the car door, the driver's eyesight never gets to him. And then when she, seeing the door open, tries to close it, he's just going to grab his suspenders, as stretchy as they are, and then wrap it around her neck and kind of pull her out and just kind of like choke her until she passes out.
Dang. That's sick.
Just kind of lay her on the street, and then just start army crawling away.
Yeah, so we see like the panels of that action of you opening the door, her looking down, you grabbing her, choking her out, and then slowly lowering her down on the ground. And then we see you army crawling away, and then we see a panel from like across the street of like these respectable gentlemen watching you choke out this lady in the middle of a street, and then just watching you army crawl away in the dirt.
Yeah, they're like, what the heck is happening?
Okay, and so where were you army crawling to?
I think he'd like to see what happens next. And so for him, if there's a post box or postal box or something that he can hide behind briefly while he's watching, he'll try to do that.
Definitely. So yeah, you get behind a postal box and you're looking around the corner, and then the door to the grocery kicks open, and you see Buck, and you see the guy that ran into you running out, and you see Buck is actually still holding on to that blonde-haired woman from the bean aisle, and then come Bonnie and Clyde holding a metal case full of money, and Clyde has some different products, like food products, wrapped up in his arms, and Buck gets to the car, says, "All right, Blanche, Blanche? The hell?" And he's gonna run around. He lets go of that woman and he runs around to the other side. "What?" And he starts looking around as he sees Blanche prostrate on the ground. He's gonna like lean down. Honey, what's going on? What is going on?"
Excellent. He's going to take this opportunity to try to grab this woman and kind of pull her away from the scene.
Perfect. Let's do a seize control. And let's roll. Oh, wait, no. This is not seize control. This is definitely a...
Serve and protect?
Yeah, serve and protect. So go ahead and roll 2d6 plus your protect.
Alrighty. 12.
12. Perfect. So on a 10 plus, you hold 3, and hold is a resource that you can expend to do a couple of different things. So as long as you continue to defend this person, you can spend hold to redirect an attack to yourself, reduce the stress inflicted on this person by 1 for every hold you spend. You can open up the attacker to an ally, giving that ally a bonus to take forward against the attacker, or you can create a bond or step back your bond clock with the person you're protecting by 1.
Excellent.
So you got 3 of those. How do you spend them?
Definitely to create a bond. I want this person to trust me,
Okay.
so that they follow me. So I'm gonna kind of just grab her by the shoulders, get her to focus on me so that I become real to her. And I will say, don't keep your eyes off of me. Focus on me and follow me. As he just kind of takes her and like leads her by the hand to a safe location.
Okay.
Probably just behind that postal box.
Perfect. So you said create a bond with this person, but I'll give you another option. Because if you create a bond with this person, that means they're going to become a named NPC. If you want that, we could definitely do that. Or you could use step back the bond clock of public opinion. So somehow by you saving this person, you step that bond clock back.
Yeah, I think that'll be perfect.
Okay. But yeah, so everything you describe narratively happens, and then you get to step back that bond clock as you walk her over to the postal box. And are you still watching what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're watching what's going on. The hysteria is still happening. Blanche is slowly coming to her senses, and in the distance you hear some police sirens wailing, and Clyde says, "Buck, throw Blanche in the back, we gotta go!" And they all jump into this Ford, and as Bonnie goes to drive, it just kind of slowly starts moving forward. And you see the guy that ran into you sticks his head out the rear window and he says, "Boss, the tires are flat!" You hear Clyde exclaim from inside, What is going on? Alright, everybody, we gotta hoof it. And they jump out and they start running with Clyde kind of limping as he runs. And the police cars come screeching up to the grocery store windows, just narrowly having missed Bonnie and Clyde being there. And the officers pour out, rush inside with their guns already drawn, but they have already escaped. But yes, you and this blonde woman are hiding behind the postal box, and with her hands on your shoulder, she just lets out a breath that you weren't aware that she was holding. She just lets it out. "Oh, thank you so much, sir. What is your name?"
My name's Omission. Pleasure.
Her face kind of wrinkles at that. "Well, that is a very peculiar name, sir."
Yeah, you might think that, but you're gonna forget soon enough.
She crinkles her brow again. I don't think I would forget the name of the man who saved me, especially with one like a name like that.
He nods. That's fair. Did you want to go get breakfast?
Oh, sure. Let me go grab my purse real quick.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
And she runs back into the grocery store. And like, does Omission have like a feeling or a sense of when somebody like forgets him?
Yeah, it's almost like the feeling of sending someone a message on Facebook and you see that they've seen it, but they never respond.
Okay. Yeah, so she runs inside and you get that feeling of detachment. And what does Omission do?
He put his hands in his pocket, remembering he still has at least a can of beans. And sit down at the corner of the street and try to pry it open with his Swiss Army knife, or at least the can opener that's attached to it, and has breakfast by himself.
Okay. And I think that woman runs back out, and she just kind of looks around, and one of the officers grabs her and says, "Ma'am, who are you looking for?" She pauses for a second. There's a panel with her face and no text bubble. And then the next one says, "I don't remember." And then we have a final shot of Omission sitting on the corner of the street, just a few feet away from this woman. We see the postal box. We see a street lamp beside you. And we see the sun coming down onto you, casting shadows. And we see a shadow cast by the woman, a shadow cast by the mailbox, and by the pole, but Omission casts no shadow. And then down in the corner of that panel, we see "To be continued in Tales to Inspire #1.
Yeah!
End of episode.
That was brilliant. It's so sad.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Tales to Inspire. We'll be back with our next episode in 2 short weeks. If you have social media, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Like and follow us at Misconceptions Pod for up-to-date information about the show, behind-the-scenes pictures, and just to show us your general positive feelings about the show. We also have a Discord. You can click the link below to join our Discord so that you can chat with other friends of the show and chat with other cast members directly. We also have an email. If you would like to contact us that way, you can email us at misconceptionspod@gmail.com. This show is fully supported by the generous monthly donations of our patrons on Patreon. If you would like to join that elite group of supporters and gain access to exclusive content, please consider joining our Patreon. The Tales to Inspire theme song was composed by Esteban Del Pino. You can find out more about his music on fiverr.com/IAM_WAKE. Omission was played by Mitchell Wallace, who can be found at Mitch Bustillos on Twitter. And I'm David White, your editor-in-chief. You can find me at Mr. Banana Socks on Twitter. The role-playing game system used in this production was a modified version of the Worlds in Peril role-playing game by Sam Joko Publishing. Tales to Inspire is a product of the Misconceptions Podcast Network. Find out more about our other shows and buy cool merch at misconceptionspod.com. And that's it for this week's episode of Tales to Inspire. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it nerdy, y'all.